This is the Poddy with Serene
and Pearl.
Get it right, Poddy.
Okay, so here's the deal.
My cricket
That was your
dumb.
intro, everybody. Danny, we're just like sitting here waiting for the Dan to turn up. No Dan, no Dan.
But we're sitting here at 10 a.m. We usually start at 1. Why are we sitting here at 10, Pearl?
Dan wanted to change.
Yeah, Dan was like,
Hollywood
the only time I
Dan.
can make it is 10 o'clock.
We're changing for Dan. Dan's not here. Okay, we just called Danny. Danny, where are you? Oh, I'm supposed to be at a party?
He's like, quiet girls, I'm in an interview. No, I'm in an appointment. What was it? A meeting?
Yeah.
He's in one of his like Hollywood meetings.
Anyway, hey, we're not giving
probably
you
interviewing
any
for
grace,
the
Danny. You don't.
latest
You
something
change our party time and then you don't turn up. Our
Dot
listeners.
is your pay.
Yeah, doctors your pay. Hey, but I do miss the Dan. Because Serene, we're going to take this.
I had
on our
such a
own.
great subject today that would be so Dan approved.
Ah,
He would have been able to riff on it. And I was going to rely on Dan because
because I ain't as fun as Dan.
I got lots of grandchildren hanging out at my home. I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. But it's loud and there's not a lot of intelligent thought going on my side of things, you know?
Are you saying there's not a lot of intelligent thought in your grandchildren? Because I have grandchildren staying at my house.
No, in my
too.
brain, it's you don't have a silence to
No,
to
it's
think about
so
things.
loud. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to work up a little pod, you know?
Okay.
And I sat down to work it up, but there was just a lot of background violins.
Yeah.
Couldn't work it out. So I thought, oh, Dan will be there. And this whole subject he would love. And so, but he's not here. And so maybe this whole poddy's going to fold.
Hey, you win some, you lose some. Let's just
Yeah,
try it
let's
out.
Just try it out. Okay. The other thing is I just needed a bit of paper to jot down some ideas. And my child had this journal nearby, and I'm like, let me just borrow it for a couple of pieces of paper. And I kind of like wrote over her writing and over scribbles and over like, you know.
Oh, you're fourth walling.
Yeah, I'm fourth walling.
Hey, how come you didn't do it on your regular teleprompter?
Because that was dead. And but by the end, I ran out of spare papers spare pages. And so then I charged that and got a little bit. So it's just going to be really
our
weird.
listeners know by now.
It's
It
just
might
gonna
be
be
on a paper plate. It might be in your head.
You got it when it hits, you know, when the inspiration hits, you just got to write it down with whatever, even if it's on your leg.
No, it's
like with a
true.
pen.
These things are true.
Well, okay, so the whole subject today is, have you gotten so boring and rigid and rule following and uppity and responsible and just what's the word? Just kind of adult like? Have you forgotten that we're meant to grow down and not grow up? Everyone's like, you got to grow up, you got to grow up, you got to grow up. There's a point to that, but really we're meant to grow down because the Bible says, you know, you be like a child, you know, and you don't enter into the kingdom of heaven unless you're like a child and look at the little child and learn from the child. The child should lead them. And so I started thinking, because I heard this message by one of my favorite speakers, and I won't mention the name in case they're controversial.
Yeah, let's not do
But
that.
anyway,
you have
I really enjoyed
half
it.
the potty listeners leave.
Yeah. But they were speaking on a whole different subject, but they were just talking about how when, you know, you want to have a new synapse connect in your brain, when you want to learn something. Actually, I did write this down. Let's have a look.
Did
we'll
you
go
charge
to it.
your teleprompter?
I
Okay.
did. And time to just write the last little stuff. Okay, so they were saying in this message about what we know from research is that it takes 400 repetitions of an act or a learning skill 400 times to get one new synapse. 400 times. Or would you like to know an option? There's an option, they say. Or 12 repetitions with joy and laughter, and you get a synapse because there's a release of a chemical called dopamine. Okay,
Oh,
so
my goodness.
400 times, you know, you're trying to just get a new healthy habit. You're trying to learn something. You're trying to grasp something in your life or whatever it is. Make a new connection neurally. 400 blinking times. Or have a bit of fun involved.
Play with it.
Just be more playful, be more like a child. And then it's 12 times.
I wonder if that's why. No, part of the reason obviously is why children learn so quickly. You know, obviously their brain is in quick mode, but maybe part of it is because their learning is with fun.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think a lot of it, okay, I said 100%. I think maybe 80% is that they're about play.
Creative play. They say
Yes.
is so good for children, and that's something that children are doing less and less and less of.
It's because so I started thinking about, when I heard that, I started thinking about our whole health journey, and I started thinking of all of our Poddy listeners, our Poddy tribe. And I started thinking, wow, like I wonder if, because we have, met some personally, and they're like, I really love the program girls. But, it's just so hard to learn the S and the E and the FP and the XO and all that stuff. And it's just so, like, I just feel like there's just so much to learn and to research about health. And it's just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. And all the recipes and all the new stuff, it's just overwhelming. And I was starting to think maybe it's because people are seeing it the wrong way. They're seeing it through the wrong lens. They've forgotten to see it through the play lens.
Yeah.
That we can play this health journey. And it's about what we get to play today in our healthy habits, not what, looking forward like, oh my goodness, I'm not there at my goal yet. So I've got to get more responsible and I've got to tick all these boxes on the way to my goal. And I've got to be really upset about it and frustrated and boring about it. And I'm going to see it as rigidity because that's how us adults should see it if we're serious about life.
I love that you're bringing this actually officially, because I think, Serene, that you and I have done this, right, naturally, but we've never officially said, hey, play with our plan. But when you and I first started, do you remember our phone calls every day? Like when we were forming this Trim Healthy thing, you'd be calling me like, Pearl, okay, you don't know what I just made for breakfast. And it was be kind of like fun, hilarious, like we were playing.
And it was who could almost one up the other, like who could actually eat the most almost sinful taste. Because we had been people that kicked out the food groups. We had been exclusive in our diet. And it was like, how could we be as inclusive as possible?
Yes.
How could we bring in that steak and cheese and it's still...
And every time we did like a carb, like I remember I was saying, Serene, I did a sweet potato, but I didn't put like butter all over because we were practicing E and it. I put Greek yogurt with it, or I put lean chicken, and I can't believe it's Serene. And at that time, you didn't have any weight to lose, but I had 15 pounds. I'm like, I'm dropping weight. What the heck is this? What the heck is this? And it was all like, it was so playful. And I think, some people have kind of been mad at us for our, what they call cutesy names for things like Glucky, like the sponge. Like we've had stupid names for our recipes. I mean, but
and
really,
even our whole makeup line too.
Yeah, I mean, everything we've done is kind of, okay, we're not serious about this. Just call it a serious name or call it what it is. But I think intrinsically, you and I have just played with this whole thing.
And even the theory too, the scientific whole way, that we metabolize glucose and the insulin pathway and everything. We were like, hey, it's just like a delivery truck.
Yeah.
It was like we put it in like almost a toddler book way style of... But it connected. It's the way it connected for our brain. And we learnt that stuff. We learnt how sugar worked in our body. And we got it down because we saw it in a playful way.
Do you remember that the fat cells? Like we said, when the muscle cells start declining and we get insulin resistance, they're like, no, I'm like a librarian. No, thank you. I don't want any more of your glucose. But the fat cells are like your party cells. They're like, yeah, I'll take it. They're always partying.
Right.
They're never like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
But see, that's role playing. And that makes you remember so much better. And I was just thinking too, even like so many people, what puts them off too on their healthy journey is like, you mean I have to go be in the kitchen and slave away? And I started thinking about when I was little, role playing, having my own kitchen. We've done Poddies on that, the joy of the kitchen and getting the joy back. But, when it was all play, there was no work involved. And I look at my children and play. My young children and play, and they are huffing and puffing, moving furniture, recreating my house to like build their own imaginary worlds. The work is more than I put in my workouts. Yeah. And it's not work to them, it's play. And even my beautiful 14-year-old daughter, she loves to get in the kitchen and bake. Whatever she does for food is so creative because it's all about play for her. But she never gets overwhelmed. I think to myself, she goes, Mom, I want to bake something this afternoon. And she just cleaned up the kitchen from all our lunch. And I'd be like, you want to go do that? That's a lot of work. She goes, oh, no, I'm going to create this and create that. It's play in her brain. And I was just starting to see when I was putting all this together in my brain, when it's play, it's no longer work. The drudgery is gone. So I started looking into it. And I want to tell you a few little quotes. I'm going to bring a couple of scrippies because the Bible talks about it, and then I want to bring some more research, and then we'll just keep weaving in the practical way we can bring play
even
into
without
life.
Dan. I wish Dan was here.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't know what to coin this Poddy, but it was almost like the intelligence of play or the wisdom of play. That sounds so like
whatever you
big
coin
girly,
it, might be changed for clickbait.
Yeah, change it for clickbait. But the point is that play is not wasted time.
Ooh.
Play is not for the childish.
Yeah.
Childish and childlike are very different.
Yes.
Okay, so play is the key to learning. And I looked up a little. I'm not going to read a bunch of stuff, but I did want to read these studies because, you could put it in your own words, but it's pretty much the same thing. A report by the Lego Foundation looked at 26 studies of play from 18 countries and found that play enabled children to progress in several domains of learning: literacy, language, social and emotional skills, and math. The outcomes of play are so powerful that the authors go as far as suggesting that play may represent the best long-term value for helping children. Out of all the things in life that you think help children and get them ready for life, to push them out of their little nest, play has the most long-term value. From these 18 countries, from 26 thorough studies, play is what they came down to, is what prepares our children the most for life and setting their brain up for success. Regardless of background, that is, and to develop a breadth of skills that will last, play. Most of us already know that this article goes on for saying...
do you know what? I just need to interject 1 second because you said last. Most study tests I have ever studied for, I lose that knowledge that I studied for it about 2 or 3 days later.
Oh, totally.
Maybe a week at max.
Yes.
But like we just said, the things that we played about, like the fat cells and the muscle cells, like the insulin truck, and we had fun with it, I'll never forget. It doesn't go out of my head.
Yeah.
It's long lasting.
Yes.
Because it was a fun, playful image.
Yeah, it's so true. Research shows that when mammals play, their brains are activated in a way that can change the whole neural connections in the prefrontal cortex that impacts not only emotional regulation, but problem solving. It triggers the release of chemicals in the brain, such as oxytocin and dopamine.
Oh, my goodness.
That help regulate the brain system, the emotions. They impact mood, memory, motivation, and attention span.
Oxytocin is so huge for our health, so huge. And I'm thinking about, you got me thinking about all sorts of things. Play in marriage.
Oh, I'm going to go to marriage.
Okay.
I can't leave marriage out, but we're going to go there together. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is another actual little research that came out from that message I was listening to by one of my favorite speakers. And they were talking about, like I said, it just takes 12 repetitions when there's playful atmosphere, laughter and joy, but 400 times. And he also mentioned about these doctors.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I pulled up I looked it up on the internet just to verify it, and it's all there. It's. I'll just give it a little brief, and then we can go into it a little bit if you want me to read a little bit. But they had done a study on doctors, and they brought them in, and they had to solve a bunch of. Let me see exactly what they had to solve. They wanted to research what they call a positive effect. And why isn't it not here?
Yeah,
That's
because
crazy.
I think you're not actually in the study yet, are you?
Oh, what happened? I had it. And
you got to click on, see, it's right there. You got to get rid of this thing.
Accept all cookies. And then, it's not happening. I'll just have to say it from my memory. Okay, so anyway, these doctors, they had to solve these x-rays and seal.
Okay, I know what it says. You have reached your article limit. To continue reading this article, register for free with New Scientist.
I don't want to register. I read the whole thing online.
Yeah, but that was your last chance. Now they want you to pay.
Great. Okay, so these doctors, they had to solve these doctory things. Okay, I wish I could read it out, but they had
doctory things. Okay,
X-rays, and they had diagnoses that they had to make, and they were all like the answers had already been worked out by higher up doctors or whatever, but they were having to see, and it was quite challenging problems, and they had to work out why this X-rays didn't match that and match this diagnosis. It was quite a very thorough study. And one of the groups of doctors, they gave them a little bit of candy beforehand and kind of like chatted a little bit with them kind of lightheartedly before they had to solve these problems. The other, they were being a little bit more official with, didn't give them candy. And then they started their...
Are you going to fix this candy thing?
Yeah, I'm going to fix it. It's got nothing to do with the candy.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The moral of the story is not that sugar helps the brain.
Yeah.
But the people that had the little candy and had the more chat-like experience beforehand, those doctors problem solved in like half the time, had a lot more of a collaborative work ethic like between the doctors, and they got it done so fast they started solving other problems that weren't even officially part of the test. It started like... bringing new ideas to their heads. The group that didn't have the candy, they didn't even finish in time. And so it was called the positive effect that they were studying. And it wasn't about the candy. It's just about when there's joy, when there's a little bit of dopamine, when there's a little bit of pleasure allowed to be at the same time that you have a challenging problem, your brain works better. It's wired better. You work better with people.
Do you think that could be too, because when you are not playing, you can play, like you said, turns on oxytocin, which turns down cortisol.
Yeah.
So cortisol is the inhibitor of our brains working properly too.
Oh, yeah. You know, when
shuts us down.
When you're stressed.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you know, when you have to hurry, I've got to get ready.
Yeah.
I've got to get ready. I'm late. I should be out of the door. Then when you get into that like fight or flight stressed out state, what I find is I can't find I'm trying to do everything faster, but I'm doing everything a million times slower. I become a dummy. I can't remember where my keys are.
Yeah.
I can't find my shoes. I can't find anything. I go to the car and forget my handbag, then have to go back and get it.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't work properly.
No cortisol. In a cortisol stress, my brain gets so foggy in a cortisol stress state.
Yeah.
So just starting something then with the attitude of play.
Yes.
Like Breezy, your daughter, I know when you were talking about your 14-year-old, were you talking about Breezy? Mm-hmm. Her whole life is play.
Oh, everything.
She's a very responsible girl and she takes her life seriously in a way, but her face says play. Her attitude says play.
And she does everything with beauty.
Yeah.
So if she's going to make even breakfast for herself, she will always garnish it with some food art or something. And I was always wondering why she did it. What a waste of time. Like, just get it done. Eat your breakfast. Let's get on to life.
Right.
But now I'm realizing what an awful mother. I was trying to make her grow up into misery and grow out of learning and take away childlikeness. And she was going to end up, I wasn't trying to make her more mature. I was
efficient. You were trying to make her more efficient.
Yeah. But
yet her play was like, blessing her life.
She had the joy in the kitchen, not me. I'd lost it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd lost it because I was all about get in there, get it done. I'd lost it. And it was becoming drudgery for me, and it's not for her. And so I need to take a note from her book. But anyway, I just wrote a few things down. Play is the key to learning. Play, these are just some of my thoughts, and then when I go to other people's quotes, I'll tell you. Play improves memory. Play improves brain function. It relieves stress. It can heal the emotions. And I was thinking about it because when we play, we're more flexible.
Yes.
Play is about enjoyment. It's about fun. It's about the imagination. It's creative-led instead of rigid, structured.
That's true. It's not rules-led. It's creative-led.
Quote, play is our brain's favorite way of learning. That's by Diane.
Can I interject something?
Yes.
I think here with the Trim Healthy plan, because that's who we're talking to right now, people who feel overwhelmed, stressed by it. And you said play is flexible. It is not rules-led. It is what did you say? Creative-led.
Yes.
And Serene, that's what I was trying to say at the beginning of this poddy. When we first started, Trim Healthy and we developed S and E and all stuff, it was creative.
Yeah.
Then we have to present it to people, right? We presented in our first book still in a creative, fun way. We did it fun, right? Yeah. But then when you have a lot of people doing it, you have groups and you have people asking questions, rules have to come into play because it's like, well, can I or can't I? And if you really point us down to it, like, well, okay, that's not actually officially on plan. Okay, so what does that mean? It's off plan. Okay, rule.
Yeah.
And we've always pushed against rules, but in the end, kind of we were backed into corner. We had to say, well, Snickers bar is not on plan. It's off plan.
Right.
But then when some people learn our plan and only get the rules, I think it does become overwhelming and stressful. And I'm sad for that.
Yeah.
I never, ever, ever want our plan to be yes, no, never.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think if we just change the lens and have all of the creative idea and all of the play knowledge and all of the can haves and all of the the things that we know are making our life more of an enjoyable life first. Get that down.
Yes.
Get all that.
And I think that's why we're so reluctant. We did give them in the end about numbers. You know, we're so reluctant in the beginning.
I don't want
They're
people
like,
to learn those
how
numbers
many
first.
carbs can we have in an S meal? And Serena, we're like, you and I were like,
we just saw it in
let's
pictures.
not do that. But in the end, we had to, because some people are more mathematical, and it helped them.
Yeah.
But I think if someone first comes to a plan and they have to write down S meal equals 10 carbs, all
it's like math, it's algebra.
Where's the creativity?
Yeah.
So that is sad.
Right. And there can also be play in math.
That's
Anything,
true.
even a challenge can end up being play, because it's not about the actual activity. It's about the attitude behind the activity.
So
and we're going to get in that. But any part of living that is enjoyable is play. So play doesn't have to be turn your brain off or just, throw the football or the frisbee out in the backyard, or play just means, when you're doing a crossword puzzle. No, play is anything that you allow yourself to be in a flow state, when you allow yourself to enjoy. And so I've written down a bunch of quotes, but I think I'll just maybe say them later. But another thing I wrote down, play is when you see it as free time, play brings love back to our life. Like when I exercise, that's challenging. And if anyone did my workout that didn't have my same lens, they might think of it as absolute torture and misery. And why would you ever want to do that? But I see it as a hobby, and I see it as play, and the challenge is part of the play. And in my brain, it's all play.
I think that's very, yes, because I've wondered how you do your workout, but you're like, oh no, it's my spa time. It's my relaxed time. I'm like, but it is.
No,
that's your lens. And, I was thinking about all our workload here with Trim Healthy. We have to do a lot of meetings and everything like that. But what's the one thing that you and I always said? Like, if we only could hold on to one thing in Trim Healthy that we would never, ever give up, it would be this Poddy.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I look at this Poddy, and I think that's why some people get annoyed at us as play. It is never a dirge to come here. Do you ever feel stressed coming here to do this?
Never feel stressed.
And that's why no present Dan in there. That's why I want to keep him forever, because he brings the play.
He does.
And we all learn together.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. And I started thinking too, Pearl, when I was thinking about all this, I was like, I've got to bring play back to the duties that we have to do, to the hours of writing, to the research. It used to be play.
When
it wasn't like it put groceries on the table for our family. It was all play. We would have done it for the rest of our life. And sometimes I want to, there's been times, this is like revelation to people, this is revealing too much to people, but there's been times I've thrown pillows against the wall. I didn't ask for this. I don't want to be a career woman. I don't want to be a businesswoman. All I want to do is be with my family and make bread and be a mother. I never had the motivation for career. It wasn't inside of me.
You have never been an ambitious career woman.
And I bawled to my husband. I'm like, I can't do everything good. I can't do both of these worlds to the best of my ability. One is losing out, and I'm scared it's my family. And he's like, Serene, if you quit today, you'd still do all this.
Yes,
but it would become play.
It's true.
It'd become like you used to, your hobby.
I know.
And it would be fine. So just change your lens.
We have told ourselves that.
Yeah, but I never put it together.
When it gets too stressful, we have to be all the meetings, and we have to do, and we have to, all the people that we have to pay, and that they're relying on us, and it gets too overwhelmed. But then Charlie said the same thing to me, Pearl, you think you'd ever stop writing books? I'm like, no, because I want to share stuff.
Do you remember when it was just us being homeschooling moms, and that was, it's what we did. We just went and got the groceries and planned the next meal or whatever. What were you doing while you were homeschooling your children? Do you know what I was doing?
Researching.
Had my face in health books.
Researching.
And they're like, Mommy, I want to show you this problem. Soon. The hormone estrogen is blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Never stop. We will never stop, but it was a different lens. And sometimes, we're just revealing our honesty, but sometimes it's because we have to now. But if we took the have to away, Serene, we still would.
Yes, exactly. We still would.
But so we need to get that attitude then of it's
the
still
attitude.
Play.
Right. And it does. So it's not that things are easy or uncomplicated that make it play. Like I said, my children, of course, I don't want them to do dangerous things, but sometimes I watch out the window at them playing in the yard, and I'm like, that's like Houdini feats. I don't even know how they pull that off. It's amazing. And of course, your husband too. He loves those brain.
His puzzle brain math.
Yeah, those
things?
brain math things. They're like, oh my goodness, that to me would be torture. But
that
is like, and it's not that it's easy.
No, that's very challenging, but
yes.
it's play to him. Yeah.
Challenging things can be just as much play,
That's
if
so
not more.
true. That's good.
Yeah, if not more. And I'm just, look, I have to go through all of their notes to get to mine. And some of my notes I wrote over top of theirs.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I wrote down here, the characteristics of play are all to do with the motivation and the mental attitude, not the actual function. Two people can be doing the same thing. Same thing.
Yeah.
One may be playing and the other not.
Yes.
So it's not about the thing.
This podcast was for me today.
Play should not be confined to childhood. For 30 years, I've been researching play for adults now for over 30 years in the science space. And it's been revealing that it keeps our brains flexible while we age. It wards off depression. It sustains optimism and keeps our emotions healing. Sustains optimism. Sometimes you can go through hard situations in work, in life. But when you see it as, when you take the play and the fun out of it, you can't sustain optimism. You can't sustain hope. I'll never forget that movie. It's not It's a Wonderful Life. It's a beautiful
life. You know, it's that one that endured the concentration camp.
Yes, concentration camp.
What was it? A Beautiful Life.
Was it A Beautiful Life? It's the one
you look it up?
where the father
Yes.
and the son got taken
Incredible.
away from the wife and the other children. They got taken to a Jewish concentration camp, and the father wanted to protect his son from all of the trauma. So he basically made it up that it was play, and those tanks, it was a major drama scene. Everyone had been hired because he had won the lottery to be part of this.
Life is beautiful. Yeah.
It's very sad and awful, but it's amazing too. And it's a great watch. But it just revealed that the boy never knew the whole time.
Isn't it a true story too?
I think it is a true story based off of true events. But to the boy, it was a big, huge drama play thing, and he had won the lottery to go through all of that and to be part of that whole situation. And anyway, you have to watch it to understand it. But amazing. So it sustains optimism. And when you think about children believe. Children hope. Yeah, children dream. They have blind faith. Children forgive. Children trust, they love, and they let yesterday alone and they leave it in the past. So we have to grow down. We have to be like the Bible says, right? To be like a child, not to be childish, but to be like a child in these things. And at the foundation of all of it is their playful brain, is their playful mind.
While you're looking up that, can I interject something?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. This is for you to interject. I don't even know how to roll this thing.
Because you said they've been studying adult play for 30 years, and they've found that it keeps. Did you say found that keeps very healthy and
flexible?
Flexible.
Yes.
You know what I was thinking? You know, we've been looking deeply into scientific research of what prevents aging in the brain, what sort of exercises, right?
Yes.
And they have found that that lower body strength training is the only thing that keeps your gray matter there, right? So that prevents dementia. So they did all these sorts of different, like walking and all that. It's fantastic. But to actually reverse aging, they found that muscle mass, of course, muscle mass. But there's something else that they found of all the cardio, which doesn't necessarily really help.
Yeah.
Even though walking is so good for relieving depression, so in a way that helps.
Because it oxygenates.
Yeah, oxygenates. But what they found they tested so many exercises, and apart from strength training on lower big muscle mass groups, they found that dancing is the most powerful at preventing dementia and Alzheimer's. Why? It's play.
It's play, and you're creative when you dance. You got to learn new ways to wiggle.
And it's
stuff.
fun. Who doesn't have fun dancing?
Oh, and it's innate in children.
Yes.
My daughter Cherish, she loves to send me little funny little reels of babies, and she sent me one the other day of these little babies, like from 3 months onwards, dancing to music. And boy, it was creative. Each one had their own little different style, but it was like amazingly fun.
Every movie, if there's ever a dance scene, it's always the scene I remember in a movie, like, you know, that movie Hitch. This is where it lives. But then I was last night, because my daughter Meadow's staying here while her husband's in Japan, and my husband.
By the way, we're not promoting that movie Hitch. Girls, like, it's such a funny movie. Let's take Mum and Dad.
Good. Yeah.
So.
Well, it's not exactly G.
Home.
It's not R-rated.
And I took Mum and Dad. Somehow you didn't make it, and I was sitting next to Mum and Dad.
I think there are a couple of PG scenes,
Yeah, but it was not the one to take your parents from the old school.
You don't take our mum and dad, you don't take.
I was swallowing hard the whole time.
But you would have so enjoyed it if you weren't sitting there with Mum and Dad. But, okay, I'm thinking about all the scenes, right? I'm thinking about Mr. Bean's Holiday where he does the dance and the opera.
Oh, yes.
I think last night, so we were watching chick flicks, just Autumn, Meadow and I, and we watched it. It's so corny, but Confessions of a Shopaholic. Have you ever seen it, Serene?
No.
It's a chick flick. It's a comedian. But then she does this dance and she's so uncoordinated. And I was like on the floor laughing. It was just the best. It brings me so many endorphins. Just like there's something about dance and play that just fills me with oxytocin.
Yes. And when you're children, you don't have the self-awareness or the self-consciousness.
Yes.
And that takes play away. So you think,
Yes.
well, adults still dance, but it's filled with self-consciousness.
Oh, whenever I dance, I'm thinking about my moves. Is this cool? And I know it's not cool.
So there's no play. It's
play.
very mathematical too. Am I in time? Am I in beat?
Yeah, should I? Let's do a new move now. I've done that one for 3 seconds. Now I better get a new one. Okay, let me try what she's doing over there. Oh, I'm not doing that very good. Let's go back to this.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But sometimes if I just dance at home with the grandchildren, I'm not thinking any of it.
No, but it's healing.
Like
I remember when my son Arden was, in the very serious stages of battling cancer, very serious stages. He's totally healed today. But I would go to music on out in my field to the loudest. I'd take the big outside speaker into my orchard where no one could see me because there was like trees all around, and I would just go like a maniac. It was a release, and it's what I needed. It got me through, yeah. And I did, of course, there were like powerful songs, Christian songs, but Danny's not here, so. But anyway, no, absolutely. And I think it's also too.
You were looking something up. I distracted you. Did you get it?
Well,
every time you turn on that thing, you have to do your password and everything, Bob.
I know. I was just saying, there are some scriptures about it, but I did mention them briefly already.
Oh, becoming like a little child.
To receive the kingdom of God like a child. Unless you do that, you're not going to enter into it at all. But it is not this way for you. But the one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest.
Yeah.
And
so
truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child will not enter into it at all. I think there's a lot more depth to that scripture than we even realize.
I think so.
A lot more depth. Because when we start thinking about all the things that we have to do right, when we make it religion, when we stop making it be like a trusting relationship about belief and about hope and about trust, and it's that wild belief that you have as a child.
And it's joy, I mean, you were talking about wisdom on a recent Poddy, and sometimes we think about wisdom or doing the right thing or really being wise in our decisions, even with health, or not stopping at that Dunkin' Donuts just because we want to, as, you said it like some librarian, no fool. But wisdom is the woman in the meadow with her hair down dancing.
Yes.
It's the joy.
Yeah.
And really, I think that really changed the way now I think about my decisions so much. And like you said, in our faith walks, it can be rules, or it can be joy and relationship and just walking into more and more of that beauty of just our spiritual walk with God.
I love it. And in that picture that we talked about in that wisdom Poddy, the lady with the hair down, and she was laughing. She's laughing like, this is the way to joy. Yeah. This is the way to life. And I think
it doesn't mean we let things go. We don't let things go that are kind of pulling us down or pulling our families down. Like it doesn't mean with all that, like in our health walk, that we keep the sugar in for joy. It doesn't mean that, or that we keep the lying and the anger in our spiritual walk. They go. Right? But as they go, we can do it with joy and fun and play.
Because we realize it's the way of joy. It's not the way, I want you to do this rule because. Yeah. Because. It's not about because it's the way of joy. And you're talking about family, and I want to bring it a little bit around to marriage too. I love bringing things around to marriage. But laughter returns the mundane back into play. And I just think about all the things, when you have to like playhouse when you're young, and one's Ken, one's Barbie, and you play or whatever. It was all exciting, and you play playing bills, and you play, picking up groceries. It was all fun. But you get into the real world, you get into the mundane. There's no laughter about some of these duties for people. You can see them rushing around town, and they're like their little snippy, tight pursed lips, husband and wife at the checkout, they're counting out their little money or swiping the card these days or whatever. But you can see that there's no laughter. It's all mundane.
Arden's laughing at you. He
But
knows his mum's back in the 80s and will never get past it.
when relationships are enjoyed without the pressure of life without a play lens, when you have life without a play lens, there's so much pressure.
Yes.
And I feel a lot of marriages, they're going through their marriage without that play lens anymore. And it's taken away the freedom of the marriage to thrive and the freedom of the family to thrive. I'm like, freedom
of the
freedom of the family. To thrive. And I feel like, when was the last time, I'm just asking myself, I'm asking everybody, we truly played as a couple, like laughter.
Yeah.
Like joy. Like doesn't mean we have to go and do frisbee together. Doesn't mean we have to get on the canoe. Those are all great things. Wonderful. But we can play when we're flipping the pancakes. And it doesn't mean we have to do the Hallmark play and put the flour on his cheek and the flour on hers and you end up making the kitchen a big mess. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mundane is play. It's the fantasy you had when you were a little child that you're going to grow up one day and you're going to find this perfect, amazing, not perfect, they're never perfect, but this soulmate for yourself. And the mundane would be the fun, would be the joy. Yeah. And I just think taking a little bit of like the ticking off of everything that has to be done and just seeing it as getting to live those daily duties out with your best friend, that should be play.
I think even arguments, when your husband and you are disagreeing or there's some men listening, but I think what I've learned, and it's been harder for me, I think, than my husband. But sometimes when you're in the midst of it, like a challenge, and you're both not seeing eye to eye, I think there can even still be play.
Yes,
that comes out of it. Obviously, there are serious situations, but I think what my husband and I have been learning, even more lately, even after we're coming up 30 years, just in the last few months, we've learned to play through hard challenges. Like, I mean, he's been saying lately when we've, kind of had some disagreements about things, and he'll just break this seriousness by saying, it's a really good thing that, how perfect we are and that no one's as perfect as us. I just love us. I love how perfect we are. And I'm just
in a sarcastic fun way. It just brings life to it. I love it.
I mean, that's his dry humor, and we just realize how non-perfect we are.
Right.
And that it's okay, and that we're just fumbling our way through, but we're going through.
I love it.
And that's the main thing.
I think arguments get so dark and feisty and painful when they're just so much seriousness is put onto it, and we don't get to see the fact that we're just two humans and we might have different ideas, but that we can almost, make fun of the other in a cute way. It might bring some laughter. So my whole life, I've wanted to be that submissive woman, right? Yeah. And my husband doesn't see me as submissive. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm just so jolly opinionated, as you can see in this potty. But I'd spend hours like getting offended and saying, you don't understand, I am so submissive. When it would come down to it, I would do anything. I'd move countries, I'd do anything. You are the boss of our house. And I'd try and convince him that I was so submissive. And
But he doesn't even care about you being that way.
And so now I've made a whole joke about it. And now I've actually turned it on him and I say, darling, go in. And I'll say it in a joking way. It's not at all like, I have to or whatever. I'm like, can you go and turn the car around for me or whatever, or get it ready, because I'm such a submissive woman. I'm going to tell you what to do. And I have this joke now. When I tell him what to do thing, I say, because I'm such a submissive woman.
Yeah, but he probably loves it, right?
He loves it. He
I have seen Sam, like even you came around the other day. Remember our meeting and you were hotted up about a subject? You were feisty, being serene, like being the clanswoman that you are. And I saw him looking at you and he was like, got this little smile on his face, like, that's my woman. Like, he actually likes you being your feisty self, but you're so kind to him.
But it used to be our darkest argument, because I would truly see it as offense. My whole life, serving you breakfast and coffee, and heating up your soup when you came home like 5 times because you'd be late or whatever. Like, I'm a submissive woman. But now I just roll with it. And I sarcastically, like in my insubmission, talk about how submissive I am. And he pats you on the butt.
He loves it.
He loves it. But it's the humor that we brought to the dark
because
argument.
It's not serious. You've created play.
Yes.
That's playing.
Yeah.
Instead of you trying to be this perfect little stereotypical, you're just playing with it.
It reminds me of the grocery store situation with you and Charlie, and how it used to be very annoying, and it used to be very almost like a snippy time for you both, because you're a little OCD about groceries. You want to talk about that? We've talked about the Poddy before, but it's funny.
But we always have new peeps.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my husband loves going to the grocery store with me, but I didn't. And you know, when we first started working together, we could do that. And because he was no longer, you know, working another job, it was like our thing. We get to go to the grocery store together now, you know. But he didn't like the way I put groceries in the cart. I would put them in and he would move them and shuffle them around and give me looks like, what, are you crazy? What the heck? You're putting something on eggs? Like, you'd never put anything on eggs. And then I would just grab the eggs from like the fridge area and put them in the cart. He's like, what are you doing? You check every egg. Like, and the whole thing was like his OCD-ness at the grocery store. And then we'd go to the checkout and I would just start loading things as I do. Everything just comes out of the cart the same way. No, you don't pull everything out of the cart the same way. You have you put all the projects together. You put all this together. And I'm like, well, if this is what you think of as a date, you know, this is the worst time of my life. And so I didn't want to go to the grocery store with him. And you're like, come on, let's go to the grocery store. I hated it. Until I went to the grocery store one day and I saw him, you know, everything I put in the cart, he was rearranging it. I just saw it as so cute and funny. And I started smiling at him. I started like joking with him. I was like, okay, you're just being a little crazy, aren't you? And he smiled at me. And then from that time, we have this great rapport because I put things in, he shuffles them around. I don't get mad at him. I'm like, okay, when we get to the checkout, he does it all. I just stand there and I read a magazine, you know, and have
you brought laughter back to
a brilliant time. I give him a look like you've been crazy and he gives me a look like, yes, I am. And we have a blast.
See, grocery stores can be play. It doesn't have to be Scrabble only. You see what I'm saying? As long as there's laughter.
Yeah.
If there's pleasure, it's play.
And I think, you know, he's loving me through it. I'm allowing him to change everything, and I'm loving him because I don't care about that. He does. He can care if he wants.
Yeah, play doesn't get all up to D.
No, I know. So, I mean, I think that was a big change. It was only a different lens.
Right.
That saw it. It was a playful lens that changed everything.
I love that. You know, so it can be in any subject of life, the play. And so bringing it right back around to the practical of the health journey for you, if you've lost your way in it, if it just feels like a dirge, if it just feels like it's all about rules and all about can't have and all about where you're not yet, maybe just take a step back and just amuse yourself about it a little bit more. And when you're in the kitchen, let it be like you were when you were 5 and looking forward to, you know, when you had that little Tykes plastic kitchen and it was all yours and you were excited. It was all about play. You know, and that you get to be creative. And
I think one of the things is, you know, as busy woman, time is one of those things that push us and take away our joy. We feel pushed. Now, there's not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
But even that can be played with.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of, so I was looking at this whole thing about play, and they're like, some people, they'll make a game out of how fast they can do the dishes. So some people, play could be making everything beautiful and being creative and bringing the whimsicalness back. But other people, for play, it might be like, I'm going to set a timer and see how efficiently and fast I can do it and see if I can beat my
That's
timer.
That's our sister Vange. You know, I always, because I have never really loved housework in my life. I didn't even really like being in the kitchen for a long time. Now I do. I've learned to potter. I always call it, this is my pottering around the kitchen time, you know, so I've learned to really love that. But Vange, our sister Vange, always played with housework. Yeah. It was always a game to her. How fast can I do it? And even our mum, who's never hated housework. She was always, when our children were little, okay, we're going to do a 1, 2, 3. So when you say,
that made it play,
yes,
right? It's like ready, set, go.
When you do a 1, 2, 3, you had to clean up as fast as you could, and that was the only time I liked cleaning up because we're all us, you know, siblings were going crazy,
scurrying around,
running and doing it as fast as we could, and then it was all done. It was like,
and almost fun. In you know, in a dramatic way where we were like, if we had to run up the stairs, we would do it in almost hilarity, where it was bigger than life.
Yeah.
And
so that was just a lens. And then I, you know, when I had my own house, I never did a 1, 2, 3. I probably should. Maybe
we do 1, 2, 3s with our children.
You kept that going.
Yeah, I did.
So I think, you know, if you're in the kitchen and you have to be fast and it's like, oh man, I have to do this. How about a 1, 2, 3 and it's play?
Right.
It's all a lens, you know.
Yeah.
Everything that we do in life. Serene, this was so good. I was thinking, I have my grandchildren staying with me right now, as I said, because, you know, Meta's husband's in Japan. And what you were saying about relationship, though, is so true when there's play, because those two boys fight like every 5 minutes. They're in a new fight. I'd forgotten what boys do. Like when I had 3 boys, they're always fighting, but every 5 minutes it's a new fight, but there is no holding on to it. Once they're like, okay, you say sorry to him. Now say sorry, Ray Ray. Ray Ray, say sorry. Okay, sorry. They're saying sorry. The next minute they're hugging. The next minute they're laughing.
And
they're doing something
that's why
together.
I said children forgive.
They forgive so well.
Yeah.
And if we could adopt that and practice that.
Hey,
I want to be like
even
that.
if we officially have to play at forgiving.
Yeah, like if Danny was sitting here, he'd be like,
how can I be the best
he'd
forgiver?
be like, so what if you could?
Yeah, exactly. What if you could? I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And I can also think about my husband too. You know, the only times he ever gets really in the kitchen, he becomes a new character.
That's true. Your husband.
He's either...
He can't be Sam.
No,
he is a character.
Because Sam... And also, whenever he has to do an event that he has to be outside of himself, like if he decides to cater an event for our family, he put on this whole big rehearsal dinner for before our son's wedding for all of like a bunch of people. And... you know, he's not one that wants to be in the light or have conversations with people like that, unless it's just his family. So he became a different. He became Antonio. He had a different accent. He was Italian. He brought off the internet the new outfit, the new persona. It was the chef's cap. It was the chef's everything. He even got the name Antonio like embroidered on the thing. He was so loud, so outgoing. He would kiss men on either side of the cheek like the old big Italian man, and he was like, "Mwah! Whoa, welcome to my..." I can't even do the accent, but it was so out there. But he could pull it off because it was play, and he put so much work into that rehearsal dinner. And that's just one example. He's done many different events, but he's always a different personality. He's either Indian or he's something or other. But he never is exhausted.
Yeah.
The next day he is.
Yes, yeah, but during
it, he can go and he'll clean the whole thing up. It'll be 3 a.m. and he's still skipping around with the accent. It's play.
Yeah.
And he never get overwhelmed, and he'd have to go buy all this food, and it was like massive amounts, and he never cooks. But he can pull off these huge events.
And you know, I'm thinking about it, that's you know, like you and I have had one another. We've been our own community for Trim Healthy, you know, from the beginning, and we've kept at it, and we have fun with it with one another. But I'm thinking, you know, with Woman Our Group and everything, community can make things fun too.
Oh,
your husband was doing that for people.
Yeah.
With people.
Yeah.
And I think, like as you said, if your health journey feels like a dirge, you know, post your meal, have fun with it. Talk about the mistakes you've made, you know, like, you know.
Get involved in the tribe of it all.
Yes. Tribe is where we play, right?
Yeah, so true.
Oh, so good. Serene, this was good. I was at your Oda call like 1 minute in.
Sorry, Dan, you start.
Trim